Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you my top 5 tips on how to have a successful yard sale. I'll give you tips about setting up and how to make as much money as possible. But first, here's a little preview of our yard sale as we're almost ready to get started tomorrow. I'm really excited to share with you the results of the sale. You guys are not going to believe how much money we made. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. And for those of you who are new here, hi, I'm Amy. Today I'll be doing a video that's a little bit different than normal. I'm going to give you my top 5 tips for having a successful yard sale. My husband and I just had a yard sale last weekend, and I will insert some footage and details from our yard sale throughout the video here, but we sold almost $1,500 worth of stuff at our yard sale, which I think is really an outstanding, successful yard sale. So I'd like to share some of the tips that I have so that you can have a successful yard sale when you are trying to make money and get rid of stuff. Typically, we will have a yard sale in order to supplement towards upcoming trips or home renovations or anything like that. It's just a way to kind of, get together some extra money towards fun stuff or necessities. So my first tip is to advertise, advertise, advertise. If you can put an ad in your local newspaper, I know a lot of people think that this may not be worth it anymore, but I still think that there are people that look in the local newspaper. So even if you just put a small blurb with your address and the days, I like to put some kind of quirky description in there. I do feel like it brings more people to your sale. The second place that I recommend advertising is Facebook Marketplace and any local Facebook buy-sell trade group that you can become a member of. I live in a small town and we have at least 10 of those buy-sell trade groups. So I join as many as possible and then I advertise in all of those. One tip for advertising on Facebook Marketplace is you want to be sure that you put your ad up at least 2 days before your sale starts. So Facebook, for some reason with the algorithm, won't always show posts in people's feeds right away. So if your yard sale is on Saturday and you put your post up on Friday night or Saturday morning, people might not see it till Sunday or even Monday. So I like to put my ads up 2 or 3 days in advance to make sure that as many people as possible will see it. Another really important thing is to have large, very distinctly printed signs and lots of them. My husband made some amazing signs, which I'll insert a picture of one of them here. It was the only one that we had left. But we got no less than 20 or 30 compliments on the signs that he put out. And I think that really makes a difference when you have good, clear signage in high traffic areas, and then also signs on the way to your house from those high traffic areas. So you want your address to be very clear. You want the dates to be very clear. You want the times to be very clear. You want to have appropriate arrows pointing towards your house so that if someone is just driving by and they see your sign and they're like, oh, I want to go to a yard sale, then they can figure out how to get to your house. One thing that goes into prepping a yard sale that I think is really important is that you take your time and you do a thorough job prepping your yard sale. What I mean by this is that you go through your house room to room and you pull out all of the excess stuff that you're not using and you don't want anymore. The more stuff that you can put out, the more quality stuff, the more you will sell and the more people that you will bring in. Because when people drive by from the street and if they just see 1 or 2 tables, they may not stop. But if you have lots of tables, larger items, smaller items, clothing, then people will stop. So that's my tip number 2, is to prepare. Along with that prep goes organization. So this is my tip number 3. Have your sale very organized and well presented. So I like to put out tablecloths on my tables that I put stuff out on. I just feel like it makes things look nicer. They don't have to be matching tablecloths, but I just feel like it makes it look clean and nice and presentable. I also organize the different types of items together. So the men's garage type stuff I put on one table. The men's camping or hats or tools I put on another table. the home decor, the pretty fancy figurines I put on one table. If you don't have, enough to make that many tables, just make sure that it is cohesive and it is neatly placed out and just not thrown out. Of course, I like to put my men's clothing together, my women's clothing together. And then over the years, as I've been thrifting and yard selling myself, I've picked up a couple of clothing racks at yard sales and store closeouts. I've picked ones that fold down flat so that they are easy to store, and you will see these in my walkthrough, the couple that I have. And I just save those and I use them for yard sales. I understand if this may not work for you if you are limited on space, but the two that we have just fold down flat and they go in the garage and it's no big deal. I think that having your clothes hanging can really help sell them for better prices and sell them in general. Whenever I go to a yard sale, I far prefer, going through clothing that is hanging rather than folded. Don't get me wrong, of course, we had quite a bit of clothing folded as well, but I reserved the folded clothing for basic t-shirts, active wear, shorts. That is what I would have folded. All of my sweaters, blouses, coats, anything nicer I have hanging. Also, you want to have very clear signs for your pricing of your items. So this is my tip number 4. Price as many items as you possibly can. When I go to a yard sale and items aren't priced, I don't always like to ask what the price is. And some people are hesitant to ask for pricing. So if you have your items very clearly marked, it can definitely increase their chance of selling. You also want to keep in mind, kind of your market and make sure that your pricing is appropriate for your area, your level of items, and kind of what you have experienced in the past from yard sales. So I live in a smaller town and it seems like the pricing in general here for yard sales is a little bit less. So I kind of border in that lower range to, of course, if there's a really nice item, I will price it higher. But in general, for like t-shirts and pajamas, I price those at $1. For my nicer sweaters and blouses, I price those at $3. And for any of my coats, I price those at $5. And in the past, I always focused on trying to get the highest price possible. This time we decided that we wanted to get rid of as much as possible. And so I tried to be in more of the affordable lane, and we sold so very much stuff. Along with pricing things, I do recommend that when you are advertising, if you're having a 2-day sale or a full day, 1-day sale, I recommend that you do a half price or some sort of discount at your sale and you advertise that. So we did our sale from Saturday morning, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. That day I was, negotiable on prices, but I wouldn't go way, way down because I advertised that on Sunday from 8 to noon, everything was half price. And I actually did more of a discount on Sunday because I really wanted to move things out. So I reduced all of the leftover clothing to $1 a piece. And oh my, people came in and filled up armloads full. And then I did half price off everything else. If someone made me an offer that I thought was reasonable, I accepted it. We really did clear out a lot of stuff, and you will see that in the clips here too. My last tip for having a successful yard sale is to pre-list your higher priced items on Facebook Marketplace. So this may seem not in line with having a yard sale, but I have found that items over, say, $20 really do not sell at yard sales. So we listed, I think, about 10 or 15 higher dollar items in advance that we were getting rid of, and I did include that amount in my sales total for the yard sale. We had a dog house. Our dog Millie, she doesn't use it for some reason, so we listed that. I also always recommend that you price your items slightly higher than what you want to get for them on Facebook Marketplace because people will always ask for a discount. So I priced the doghouse at $110. That took about a week to sell and someone paid me $100 for it. We listed a pair of Coleman camping cots for $75. Those sold in less than an hour, which I was really shocked about. We listed a camp kitchen, a barbecue, but we sold $375 worth of stuff in advance prior to the yard sale. And I started listing on Facebook Marketplace about 2 weeks before we had the yard sale. I also think that listing in advance and getting your marketplace kind of going and in the algorithm will help show your yard sale ad more when you put it out. Because if you're not a reseller like I am by trade, that's what I do. I buy stuff at estate sales, yard sales, thrift stores, auctions, and then I resell it online. So what I mean by the algorithm is that websites feed off activity, and so your posts will show up more if you are more active on the websites. So that's why I recommend kind of getting started 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. All in all, I think my husband and I prepped for this yard sale for about 2 months in advance. Now, I'm not saying 2 months total. Every weekend we would take an hour or two and we would each go through an area in our home and pull out things that we are no longer using or needing. Of course, he focused on the garage a lot because that's kind of his area. I focused more on clearing out my clothing. I also did some clearing out at the shop. Not a ton, but I did pull out some items that had been listed for over 2 years. Also some bad buys that I just wasn't interested in listing, and I put those in my yard sale. I also recommend when you are setting up for your sale that you put larger, nicer items closer to the road. So there were a couple of pieces of furniture left that did not sell on Facebook Marketplace, and I put those close to the road so that when people drove by, it kind of piqued their interest and it didn't just look like a bunch of clothes, because a lot of people don't want to go if it's just clothes. We had constant people all day on Saturday, and I would say 80 or 85% of the people bought stuff, which I was really amazed at. So our total sales amount was $1,495 for that 2-day sale, plus the items that I pre-sold. And like I said, that was $375 worth. So just at our yard sale, we did over $1,100 in those 2 days. The first day was about $800 in sales, and then the second day was about $300 in sales. My last tip, which is something that we learned, which isn't one of my 5 tips, but it's something that we learned this year, is that we really think it is a good idea to have yard sales early in the year. We really felt like people were really enthusiastic about yard selling and wanting to buy stuff. We had ours at the end of April. So sure, there had been some sales already during the year, but it wasn't like people had been yard selling all summer long and then you were having your sale at the end of the summer. Of course, we've had very successful yard sales towards the end of the summer, so don't fret, it's not too late to have one. I'm just saying in the future, I do think that we will plan on having our yard sales earlier in the season. Plus, it's just really nice to have all of that stuff out for the summer and know that it is, your yard sale is done with. So I hope you guys thought this video was helpful. I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you might have in the comments down below. If you enjoy my content, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and make a comment down below. All those things really help me out. They help me out in the YouTube algorithm, so YouTube shows my videos to more people and it helps my channel grow. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all again next week.